All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, this is Craig Dees, Communications Director at Cloud Action. I wanted to welcome you to our session today on how to integrate Remedyforce in JIRA in 30 minutes or less. Before I introduce our speaker, Daniel Snow, and while we still have some people logging into the webinar, got a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go over. One, all the phones are on mute. But we're really looking forward to some questions from attendees. If you look over on your control panel in the GoToWebinar application, you'll see a question pane, and just enter your questions there and send them to us. I will be monitoring that, and we're going to try to address all the questions today. If we don't get to yours today, we promise to respond via email. And with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Daniel Snow. He's the Global Solutions Director at Cloud Action. He is responsible for day-to-day operations and working directly with Samir Kumar, the president of Cloud Action. And most importantly, he's driving force with the actionHub integration solution that we're going to be looking at today. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and hand it over to Daniel. Daniel, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. And thanks to everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. I have a couple of things I want to go over before get into the meat of this. Won't spend very long on this, but I just, I kind of want to set the stage for the solution that we've been working on. So, a lot of our customers we find are really trying to connect their different teams and processes, and so whether that be e-bonding with a vendor or a service provider or a customer, or if it's internal, right? Employees, customers, IT development. So, our use case today focuses on JIRA and Remedyforce to connect, service and support with development. But this is definitely, a part of a larger platform that we've been building to solve the broader integration challenges. So, a little bit about the solution we're using to do this integration. So this is actionHub. actionHub is a solution we built entirely on the Salesforce platform. It enables us to do integration between anything on the Salesforce platform and either other things on the platform or anything, whether it's a cloud-based app or a premise-based app. So basically a lot of our customers over the years came to us and they were struggling either with painful, time-consuming, expensive custom integrations that were hard to support or maybe not very resilient. Maybe they had middleware platforms, but they were so complicated they had to have a special skill set involved, proprietary scripting and other things. And then a lot of our customers, just didn't have the budget to support either of those options, and so they're either out of luck or they were stuck with one-size-fits-all sort of integrations. But reality is the cookie-cutter solutions that are out there. Some people calling them recipes or zips or snaps or pops or whatever. Those things really weren't solving the business problems for our customers. So we set out to build a solution that would let people have all the benefits of flexible integration without custom code and without leaving the Salesforce platform. So, basically our objective was to make it so that our customers could stand up reliable, elegant integrations in minutes instead of days. With no further ado, I'm going to switch over to the meat of this, and so let's go take a look. Today on the session, we're going to actually build a live integration. I've pre-staged a few things just because, for time's sake, it gets a little boring watching me do this after a while. So, but I've saved the best part. So I pre-staged a few things here. I've already put in the information about where our JIRA server is, and I've created a few of the rules that will move our comments and our attachments But together we're going to create two rules. So this is actionHub, and basically from here we can start with creating a rule that will escalate our incident to JIRA. Okay, so all of this is based on metadata in your particular org. So real time, we're getting a list of objects from the org where actionHub is installed. And since Remedyforce is here, we have incident as one of our options. Okay, so now we have a drop-down list of fields here. So we can obviously set conditions for this rule. We don't want this to fire for every incident. So in this example, I'm going to look specifically for a category equal to actionHub. Now, every environment will be different. Some customers may have a checkbox for escalation or other things. I'm going to add another condition here just because I only want to escalate this once. So we'll just make sure that we don't already have a JIRA issue number. And then we'll make sure that we do have an issue type. Now that's you could map that from a different field. And in this case, I've actually created a field for it. So we'll say we have an issue type that's not blank, it's not been escalated, and it has a category of actionHub. So now we'll create an action from this rule. Okay, and again, so I choose from a list of connections that have been defined. And again, we have dynamic metadata. So you'll notice that we have issue, comment, work log here. We also do have boards and sprints for those of you that are using JIRA Agile. So in this case, we'll go ahead and create an issue. And we're going to map a handful of fields here. For those of you that are familiar with JIRA, we have project key is really the heart of any JIRA issue, and we're going to map that straight over from our category. Issue type is also pretty important and can vary based on project, so it's important to have a good mapping there. One of the things I want to point out, and I'll show you when we do our walkthrough, is that from an issue type, we can support custom issue types as well as those things that are part of the JIRA Agile solution. Okay, so we'll do a few other things, a summary, description. Again, you can see that I'm just using simple drop-downs. Summary maps nicely to the short description in Remedyforce if you're using that. Okay. One important thing we want to do is put a record identifier out there. So in JIRA, we've actually created a custom field for the record ID. And so we'll set that equal to the record ID from our incident. This will enable us to do a rule to retrieve updates later. Now, we all know not everything is a straight across mapping. So one of the things we did with actionHub is create a way to do kind of some simple translations. So in this case, my priorities in Remedyforce simply aren't going to match the priorities that I have in JIRA. So again, to save us just a little bit of time, I've gone ahead and created this mapping, so you don't have to watch me typo anything. But basically, you can see it's just a simple list, right? So in Remedyforce, I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in JIRA, I have highest, high, medium, low, and lowest. And so this is a very straightforward common mapping scenario, is just where things don't line up perfectly between systems. And so you can create a simple map here. Now, to use this map, I simply click on it. And you can see it puts in a little code here. And I just need to replace this input value with the field I want that to come from. So in this case, I'm going to pull this from my priority. So we'll just replace that input value with priority, and we're good to go. Now, one of the other unique things about actionHub is from a response mapping perspective. So response mappings are just a simple way to get data back from the record we just created in a target system. So in this case, I want to get my JIRA issue key and put that back into a field on my incident. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this rule. Okay. It's warning me I've got to have an action here, so I'm going to set my action to create. Okay, so now we have our new rule here, escalate incident to JIRA issue. I'll go in here and set that and save it this time. Okay, and we'll activate that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create a second rule that'll be coming in the other direction. So this rule will update our incident when a JIRA issue is updated. Okay. So, and our rules are consistent in either direction. So you follow the same process going either direction. So this way, we'll start with a JIRA issue. And my conditions are a little simpler here. I'm just going to make sure that it's actually an issue that's tied to a Salesforce record. Okay, so I'll just do a few fields here, pretty common scenarios. First thing we want to do definitely is, to make sure that we're actually updating a record and not creating one, is map something to our record ID. So we actually want to get that record ID here, so we'll be doing an update. Then let's take over a couple other fields. Maybe we'll do our issue type. So if we wanted to do an update there. And how about our status? So we'll have issue status updated as well. Okay, and so we'll just stop there. So that'll give us our status updates back. And again, your business needs may vary. The important thing is that this is going to be based on the metadata from your Salesforce org, your Remedyforce system, your JIRA environment. So all this is pulled dynamically. So let's go over and take a look. A couple other rules I had staged up just so you didn't have to watch me build them all. We already had a couple other rules set up here. So one is just our incident history going over to JIRA comments. One of them is comments coming back, and one of them is attachments. You'll notice I've got some other rules. As I mentioned at the beginning, JIRA is not the only thing we do. So we've got some rules for monitoring and orchestration and due diligence cases for Service Cloud. So you've got a lot of options there with ActionHub. You can use the same rule process. So let's go over to Remedyforce and see what we've built. So we'll start with a new incident. This could be fired off of a service request. Again, to save us just a little bit of time and keep this efficient, I've created a template that just applies my category and some other things. Okay, so you'll see I've got an issue type. As I mentioned, we do support all of the agile types, so you have your epic and your story here as well. And any custom issue types you create, you could also coordinate. Okay, so I think that's about all we need to do. So we'll just we'll go ahead and create that incident. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and reload this. And you'll notice as soon as I reload it, I've already got my JIRA issue right here. So we'll just pop right over to JIRA with that link. Okay, and you can see we've got this this issue created. So we've got, based on our mapping, we had a high, which created a priority 1 in Remedyforce, and that translated to highest using our mapping. And we've got an attachment. So now, let's say we need a little information. So one of the most important things in terms of making this process work is just having good communication between both sides, and nobody has to leave the tool they're working in. So if we come back over here to Remedyforce, we go look at our record details, we'll see we have a new note here requesting a screenshot. We can come in here. We'll attach an image. Close that. And we can come right over here, and we'll go ahead and respond to. Maybe we'll come up here and add a note of our own. Okay, so now when we come over here to JIRA, and we'll just refresh this, you can see we've got our attachment as well as our comment right here. So you've got that good two-way communication. Now, the remainder of this process typically is going to be done in JIRA, although we've got data flowing in both directions. Most of the time you'll do these transitions in JIRA. So if we move this one to in progress, and we can come back over here to Remedyforce, just going to reload this, reload it over here on the main page. And you'll see a couple of things. One is this has gone to in process. So in this case, it's an indirect action. I have my actionHub rule is updating our issue status here, and I've got a simple workflow rule that's pushing a template to update my status and is setting my responded date. You could do that in one action, but just to let you know, you can work hand in hand with the other tools you're familiar with. So in this environment, I pre-staged an SLA, or rather an OLA, for our development team. So you can see we've already got a completion on our response time for our high priority bug response, and that came when we went to in progress. But we still do have this resolution time OLA that's pending, milestone that's pending. So now if I come over here and I go ahead and move this to done, and we come back over to Remedyforce, now our incident has been closed. So now from a configuration standpoint, you saw how we wrote the rules that really define the workflow in both directions. But just in terms of data coming out of JIRA, this is the one piece. Again, I went ahead and did this before we got on the call, just because it's a little boring to watch. But basically, we come in here and we create a webhook, and we point it towards our incoming JIRA adapter on actionHub. We tell it what events we want. If you're doing an e-bonding scenario, or you're working with a business partner and maybe you don't own the JIRA side, they can filter this. They can do custom filtering here, so they can filter for things that are just relevant to you as a customer, or vice versa. So, but it's as simple as that. Once that webhook is configured, the actionHub rules really do all the heavy lifting. A few handy tips in terms of a JIRA integration, things that you'll want to consider. First of all, your projects in JIRA may have different fields or different issue types, and that's definitely an important consideration. So you want to make sure that any fields that you're updating or any issue types you're using are properly corresponded with those projects in JIRA. As I mentioned, you can leverage workflow rules, templates, SLA, or OLA to enhance your process between JIRA and Remedyforce. From a security standpoint, you can also, on the incoming, you can also restrict that to specific IP ranges, so that only those tailored Atlassian ranges can be taken care of. A few things we didn't go into, on those other rules. For things where you're not going to store an identifier on one side or the other, you want to prevent any sort of circular rules. So, for example, an incident history creates a comment, which creates an incident history, and kind of so on. And so, just doing things like just filtering with your conditions to say, okay, don't fire this when it's the incident history was created by the integration user, or when it contains a certain keyword, things like that. So, but in general, that's it. So that kind of concludes the demo portion. You can see that actionHub is very clean and straightforward, and so unique business requirements are easy to address and changes are easy to address with that. So trying to save a little time for questions. So I'm going to just go over one brief thing just to tell you a little bit about us. So we are a company focused on Remedyforce and Salesforce. We've got 175 successful implementations in the last 2 years. Obviously, we built actionHub, and we're focused on results for our customers. And so we certainly would love an opportunity to work with you if we're not already. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go see. I think we have a few questions. Okay, so one question came in. Can this be used for Salesforce case to JIRA issue integration? And the answer is yes. So actionHub will work with any object on the Salesforce platform, including any custom objects. As with Remedyforce, any objects from any managed package are fully supported. Additionally, as I showed at the beginning, so from a rules perspective, we can support any external systems. So JIRA is one example that we're showing today. If you join us next month on our technical session, we're showing a Microsoft System Center Orchestrator. We'll be doing some orchestration activities like new user creation or add remove from groups, things like that. Okay, so I have another question here about security. So yeah, all communication between JIRA and Salesforce occurs over HTTPS, and so your data is fully secure. The configuration of the connections in actionHub, the credentials that are entered there are stored fully encrypted. We don't have the ability to decrypt them. Salesforce can't decrypt them. And they're never presented back to the user interface in any form. So, there's no security challenge there at all for credentials or other sensitive information. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and take just one moment to show you a few other quick things. So, from a connection standpoint. Yep. So this is where we go and create the individual connections. And so, as I mentioned, there's no exposure to the user interface. You can type in credentials, and those are stored and encrypted. Also have the ability to see activity in the system. So we can look at our event queue. And this shows all the data actions coming in any direction from objects that we have rules written against. So while waiting on that to come up, so I have another question here: is the licensing separate from Remedyforce licensing? And the answer to that question is yes. So we have separate licensing on actionHub. Okay, I have another question here. Yeah, so the next question I have here is, if you've already got Salesforce or Remedyforce and you have JIRA, what do you need to make this integration work? So, basically just actionHub, and we'll send out some information to everyone that attended today. We'll send out some information about actionHub and how you can take next steps. So you'll see here, I can look and see, any particular event that occurred. For example, we'll just pull this one up. So any activities that occur in either direction, we can see, in this case, this was our last update and no rules were fired. But we can also see things in our action queue, which will show completed actions. So we can see here, anything that was completed there. Okay. Let me see. questions here. Okay. Okay, great question. Yeah, so there is full support for. I received a question. You know, what fields are supported? So there's full support for all out-of-the-box fields as well as custom fields. And so, you know, we used a particular example today, but I'll just pull this up again so that you can see it. When you're configuring your rule in actionHub, again, that metadata is real-time from your system. And so actually to illustrate this point specifically, we created a number of different custom fields in our demo JIRA environment. So when we go, if we wanted to do a field mapping here, you can see we've got custom fields of every kind, and we labeled them with rather obvious names so we could see them here, but that's fully supported. So I think that's. I want to be respectful of your time, and I think we're about out of it. So we definitely would love to help you get Remedyforce and JIRA talking. It's you know, from a business value perspective, we've got a number of customers using this solution already, and it's obviously it's very straightforward, sound solution, and it creates a lot of business value. You know, reducing the time and frustration of manual data entry, and just improving communication between, you know, your support teams and your development teams. So we definitely would love to work with you on integrating your systems. So thanks very much for your time, and please do join us. Please do join us next month for our session on orchestration. And up on your screen now, you'll see a few ways that you can learn more about us and our solutions. Thanks very much, and have a great day.